All right, so let's start this broadcast with the big story that's in fact come in from Pakistan. The country is facing one of its worst economic downturns. The judiciary and the government do not see eye to eye in Pakistan. Every day, there is more political infighting that comes to light. But even with this much on the plate, what is interesting is that the army, the Pakistani army, is in the middle of a storm. A report by Open Source Intelligence is now revealed as to how much money the Pakistani generals have amassed during their tenure and even afterwards. The numbers are pretty concerning. There are some recent Pakistani military generals who are even said to have become billionaires. Now, less than 2 weeks before the Pakistani Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa's tenure was about to end, there was this damning report that came to light that his and his close family members had in fact witnessed a very sharp rise in their wealth at the time that he became the Chief of Staff. The current market value of the known assets accumulated to over $44 million. After retiring from the military, General Asim Bajwa was the chairperson of a massive China-funded infrastructure project. But during his tenure, the Bajwa family spent an estimated $52 million to develop their businesses. His brother apparently started off as a delivery driver for Papa John's Pizza restaurant back in 2002. Today, the family reportedly has at least about 133 restaurants of Papa John in 4 countries. Now, the ex-ISI Chief General Akhtar Abdur Rahman is also part of this infamous list. He has been named in a massive leak of secret banking data. Swiss leaks have unmasked people associated with some pretty notorious activities, from drug trafficking, money laundering to corruption. The former Army Chief General Ashfaq Parvez Kayani has been accused by another senior officer of being involved in a major land scam. It was a defense housing scheme to benefit a real estate company. The National Accountability Bureau has estimated that the scam involves nearly about 662 square meters of land. A 3-star general of the Pakistani Army, Lieutenant General retired Muzammil Hussain, is allegedly involved in corruption as well. And this is a corruption case of about $753 million for a hydropower project. Now, the ex-general has been accused of causing a loss to the national kitty. The Gujranwala's Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Asim Munir, has been accused of corruption as well. Over $3 million reportedly was extorted from the CEO of Master Tiles, which happens to be one of the largest companies in Pakistan. The country has witnessed a series of lows in the past year, with Imran Khan being ousted, financial struggles with the IMF, and the Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa becoming a battleground for the judiciary and the executive. But the question is this: how is Pakistan dealing with such high levels of corruption within its military? Are there any checks and balances? As more cracks appear in the country, these important issues seem to be falling through. At least within Pakistan, there seems to be a culture of not questioning the corruption in the military. And to give us more insights in terms of what's exactly happening in Pakistan and how can it deal with this kind of corruption within the top echelons of its military, we're being joined by journalist and columnist Raja Faisal, who's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Faisal, these are some pretty concerning numbers that we've just gone through. This appears to be corruption right at the very top of the military establishment in Pakistan. Give us a sense of how is Pakistan even dealing with corruption of this scale within its military?
If we look at the numbers that you have given, and obviously I did go through the report as well, to me, I think it is quite an exaggerated report. But yes, there are odd cases within the military. But if we talk about the accountability within the institution of army, it has its own accountability structure, and it has, the accountability structure makes sure that nobody is within the ranks of the officers of Pakistan Army gets promoted, whoever is involved in these kind of activities. But yes, odd cases, if we look at, the cases from war and terror, if we take a look at cases from the era of the Cold War, yes, there were odd cases Yes, they are discussed in Pakistan, and yes, the most recent one being Lieutenant General Asim Bajwa, it has been highlighted in Pakistan everywhere, and there are concerns, and them concerns are being dealt with from within the institution itself. If we look at these cases, they are not at a very large number.
Right.
The problem here is the people who were involved, of course, they were at the top positions at their times.
Right.
And that is what the worrying problem is for the institution itself right now.
Absolutely, indeed. It is very worrying. And you mentioned that people who are found to be engaged in corruption, they don't get promotions. But what I just read out and what the report says is an individual, for instance, like Asim Bajwa, he has got some very serious allegations that are being leveled against him, a former ISI chief. These are people right at the top within the Pakistani military establishment. You say that there are checks and balances that perhaps, would try to prevent corruption from happening. But if you look at people who are right at the top over the course of the last decade, pretty much most of these names that I read out have been involved in some serious cases of corruption. So how does Pakistan even deal with something like this?
Well, the problem here is, the names you're taking, obviously these generals at their times, they were involved in their position. Of course, they were involved in the civilian sector as well. As long as somebody is, involved within the institution itself, we don't see these sort of cases, and we don't see the corruption taking place. Of course, if we take the example of General Asim Bajwa, we know that he was heading CPEC authority at his time, and before that, of course, he was, DG ISPR and then Corps Commander, Southern Command at that time, at his time. Of course, there are questions, and if we look at the time frame of his increase in the wealth, it was right at the supreme positions while he was holding them positions, rather than he was, holding the previous positions.
Right.
So this is
Mr. Faisal, we're short of time, but I want you to actually weigh in on one very interesting aspect that not a lot of people outside of Pakistan would be familiar. The Pakistani army, besides guarding the borders of Pakistan, is also heavily involved in economic duties, in economic interests. It runs companies. For people outside of Pakistan, this is baffling as to why a military establishment tasked with protecting the borders of Pakistan should be so deeply involved with financial activities. Is it not odd? How do the people within Pakistan perceive this, and is this what is resulting in a lot of this corruption that we've just listed out?
It is odd, I will accept it, but at the same time, if we look at the structure of the army is involved in every sector when it comes to, floods, when it comes to all of the calamities which are being faced by Pakistan, they are involved, and wherever they are, required by the civilian government, they always come towards it. And obviously, if we look at 3 decades, the previous 3 decades, the influence of the army was entirely different, because we were constantly fighting, especially last 20 years. Pakistan Army was fighting war on terror, and in this war on terror, mind you, I just want to highlight Pakistan's army and Pakistan's officers. They are considered as, one of the highest number of officers who gave life for their country. Right. Of course, they're Pakistanis. I would highlight around 5 generals who gave life for this country. So at the same time, if we have the odd examples from the institution, at the same time we have a very large number of generals giving their lives for the country.
I get your argument.
I think the odd should be dealt with. But at the same time, army as an institution, only army can ensure all of these odds, they can be skimmed out.
Absolutely, indeed. It is the Pakistani army itself which has its reputation at stake, that should ensure that incidents of corruption, high-scale, high-level corruption, do not, of course, happen. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Faisal, for joining us and getting us all those insights there from Islamabad.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
Can you say my family are thieves?
What do I say?
Say my family are thieves. Is your family are thieves?